Welcome back to Vista View, everybody in Planet Coaster. My name is Shadow Phoenix, and this is episode 14 of the series. And in this episode, we're going to build one of my favorite things that I really enjoy, is the antique cars. Now, I kind of have a slight nostalgia, basically, for these things. My home park is Kings Island, as some of you may know, and Kings Island used to have a really great antique cars ride. Two of them, in fact. One was sports cars and one was like these old-timey cars. And I always enjoyed it. And they took it out and they added in this like really ugly, they added in the Italian Job, which is called like Stunt Show or something now. And basically replaced this beautiful landscape with a bunch of shipping crates. Yeah, so not too fond of that. But anyway, yeah, these things will always hold kind of a special place in my heart, so to speak. I always enjoy them, and I really like how they are done in Planet Coaster. I think the cars look really good. The track could maybe use a little bit of work, but yeah, I mean, as far as the cars go, I think the cars are modeled great. The only thing I could probably ask for is I would love to see like some little sports car lookings, like little convertibles or something to go along with it. That would be kind of cool, but I doubt we will ever get that. You never know, maybe sometime in the future, but it's not looking good. So what we're doing right now at the moment is just kind of building a layout, and it's not an advanced layout or anything like that, but this is my first time actually working with this thing. I know I did a video for Whitaker Lake where I built antique cars, but that was actually after I had built these antique cars, because this recording is very old. I think I did this recording in July. Yeah, this was a recording from July of this year, so it's really old. And you guys can kind of see how far back I am in backlog of videos and stuff, because it takes me forever to make these videos and get them out, and I'm just so far behind. But nonetheless, what I wanted to do was, obviously I wanted the cars to kind of go underneath the track a little bit, and then kind of go over, I wanted a bridge. And then I wanted this little area over around a lake. And then I kind of thought about it as I was putting this in here, and I thought, you know what, let's go through a tunnel and have the tunnel go underneath the train. We'll make it interact with the train. That would be really cool. And that was kind of what I started doing here, was building the tunnel that the cars would go through, which was kind of a pain because I had very limited like top soil, I guess you could say, to deal with on that, because the train had to go over top of it, but I needed to make the tunnel through it, and it's very difficult to get a thin piece of land between a tunnel and a roof unless you got to put a lot of top on it, and I didn't have a whole lot to work with there, and that was kind of difficult, but I got it to work. And the area around the lake, that actually came, I want to make a shout out there, the guy Chicago. I was watching his stream and he had a car ride, and he has this little part where the car ride goes around a lake, or like a pond, and it looked really cool, and that's kind of where I got my idea for my pond at. So he was a big inspiration for that, and that's where that come from. And of course, I always have to add my special little details into it, so that's kind of what we're going to start doing. Now, what I was just trying there was I had found this flower tunnel thing on the workshop, and I really liked it, and I was thinking, maybe we'll try to use it here, but it turned out it was just way too big, so decided against it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to start making our bridge here. Now, the bridge is made out of chimney pieces, and then of course they do kind of look ugly right now because they just look like it's like clay color, which isn't fantastic. And what I eventually will do is change the color on that. But I wanted to kind of get some terrain and some foliage and stuff in there, and lots of trees and lots of flowers. And I really wanted to just kind of be like very gardeny, and to give it a nice scenery that the cars kind of go around. Something worthy of these antique cars that, I like to make a vista out of this, which is funny because it's Vista View Park. So yeah, so what we did is we placed a few rocks down, a few shrubs, some trees. Then I kind of got to thinking about how the train was going to kind of work over that, and that's where you see me now kind of working, is kind of smoothing that out. And I'm thinking maybe some waterfalls and some other things. We'll put some trees in there. I ended up not being able to make the antique cars interact as well as tunnel-wise with the trains as I wanted to, because I noticed that it was just too tall, and the trains were just kind of a little too far back, and I ended up having to just kind of cover all that up on top of that with shrubs and trees and other stuff to kind of fill in some gaps and make it kind of work. But you know, that's okay, because we still have this whole other area over there by the little pond area that you can see the train from as you're going past. So it still does have interaction with it, just not how I intended it originally, but it still worked. So we're just gonna, you know, place a few more shrubs and things down and kind of fix the area up a little bit here. And there was a whole lot of, I gotta say, guys, it might as well settle in, because this is a long video, because I did a lot of work with these antique cars. So a lot of it, some of it I will be speaking through, some of it I'll kind of be quiet as the time lapse goes through, but I'm just gonna chime in where things need to be. Now for the station, I had really no clue what I was gonna do for the station. I tried a couple of different things here. I ended up not really liking this tower. Although going back and watching this video now, I do kind of like it, which is funny. I didn't care for it when I finished it here, but now going back and looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have just kind of kept going with that and seen where that went. But I do think the direction that I'm taking the antique car ride at the moment in is pretty good. I ended up doing a more just basic station. Although it's not basic to build because there's a lot of little tiny pieces into it, I just decided to just go with like a V-shaped kind of roof, and just do some angles and stuff, and a very open air. The colors, actually, I wish I'd left these colors the way they were. I ended up going with a little bit too white, and it looked too classic, and it doesn't really fit the area that I'm thinking now. Now you're probably wondering now, why is he placing another car ride down? Well, that's because I kind of wanted a little extra little area over here. Like maybe, you know how a lot of people will do transfer tracks for their coasters and stuff? Well, I decided to do a transfer track for the antique cars. Basically, this would be where they would park the old cars that were maybe needed fuel, maybe needed to be, like gassed up or whatever, or just need maintenance or something. So they would just park them off to the side here of the station. I did have a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how I was going to hide the little guy that runs the station there, but I do this, I don't even know what it is. It's like this big brick tower piece. I kind of threw that down, and I was like, oh, that works. We could just say that is that's the gas, basically, like the pump. So all the gas would be in this pump, and then they could just gas up the cars from there when they need it. That was kind of what I think it kind of feels like, and I was okay with that. So, and it really does look actually pretty good. So here we are back over here at this tunnel, working a little more, and I'm trying to flatten out this land, which you really got to put a lot of effort into trying to flatten the terrain to go along with this track and make everything kind of match, especially around the hills and stuff too. Now luckily, I believe this wasn't too long after we actually got the ability to mess around with the land and stuff, so I was still playing around with this thing, I think. I don't remember when it was we actually got the ability to like edit terrain around the rides and stuff, but I think it was part of the summer update if I'm not mistaken, and this would have been around that time. So here we have our bridge pieces all kind of almost all together. I decided to throw some ivy down onto the stone to kind of give it a feeling of like grown in, and that turned out beautiful. I really liked how that turned out. Now it's time to work on our little covered bridge, which was going to be the main centerpiece of our antique car ride. And I did kind of look at some reference photos and stuff. I looked at a lot of other antique car rides and looked at how they did their bridges and stuff like that. The ones that had them anyway. And I got a little bit of inspiration from a lot of different ones. Just kind of still went into kind of going my own route. So it's not really based on anything specifically. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different ones. Now you'll notice that the bridge itself is slightly curved. That made this a little more difficult. So I wanted to try to get like a wooden bridge, like where the cars would like go from the track over across this like wooden area. That way, as you're going over top of it, you can actually hear the the clickety clackety of the boards underneath the car. I thought that was kind of a nice little touch there. Now this is, I believe, where I figured out that these little wall or door pieces are actually will make great walls, like short walls and things to cover up stuff. And I use those quite a bit now. And here, this is where I was trying some different things with the posts. I ended up going with kind of a curved kind of look for it. And I really like how that came out too. Now at some point I am going to go back and I am going to redo the colors of this ride, because like I was saying earlier, I went with a lot of white, a lot of very, very light colors. And now that I'm going back and I'm thinking about what this whole area over here on this side of the park is going to look like and what it's themed to, it doesn't really fit. This is just, it's too antique, it's too classic, it's too Victorian, so to speak. And what I needed is more of a festive kind of look. I needed something more like Italy kind of, a lot of very colorful pieces. So I'm going to go back and redo a lot of the colors and stuff for the entire ride, the bridge, the station, all that, and just make it more festive. I think that's going to fit the whole area so much better. And later on, it may be the next episode after this when I do the POV of this ride. You guys will kind of see what I did as far as color wise. I don't know if I'm going to do a POV of this next or a POV of Steel Wolf, but I guess, hey, cat's out of the bag. The next video is going to be a POV of a ride that's in Vista View. In my last video, which I posted the other day, I had mentioned that I have finally hit 500 subscribers. So as a kind of a thank you to all my viewers, I know how much you guys love POVs and like cinematics and stuff of the rides. You guys ask me about them a lot. So our next video is going to be a POV. It's either going to be Steel Wolf here from Vista View, which is our Aero Looper coaster, or it's going to be the antique car rides. Or who knows? Maybe, if you guys are great and you're good to me, I might just give you both. We'll see. Now, this next little thing right here is something I kind of thought of. And for our tunnel system, I really wanted to give it a nice classic entrance tunnel. And I got to thinking about like alpine type tunnels and stuff, things I've seen from movies and stuff. And now I'll kind of have these like keystone, I guess that's what you call them. I don't really know what they're called, but these really interesting like stone entrances. So I decided to try my hand at making some of that using these angled base pieces, I guess is what they're called. And I think it came out really, really well, especially once I get it kind of all mixed in with the actual terrain and everything. And then we place a few rocks and some trees and some bushes down, and we mix it all together and we get a great, great, great looking tunnel. And that's basically what I'm going to do at this point. We're just going to mix these in and kind of blend it into the terrain as much as we can here. Now, at this point, I'm just going to make a blueprint, and we're going to take that blueprint and we're going to copy it down to the other side over here. That way we don't have to redo the entire thing. That worked out pretty good. I just had to redo some rocks a little bit to kind of blend it in a little bit better on this side and make it not look identical, but that was a whole lot easier than just doing a whole other tunnel piece. And then of course we just had to adjust the pieces above the train, underneath the track to make it match, because as you can see there, every time I started like trying to make the tunnel a little bit bigger, I kept running into the thing where I would make a hole in the roof, and then I'd have to go back up and fix it. Then I'd have to fix the tunnel again, and then I'd have to fix the roof, and then I'd have to fix the tunnel, and then the roof, and the tunnel. And it was an ongoing process. But I did finally get it, and I was very happy with the results. Now at some point I may go back in and kind of redo this entire tunnel here with like concrete pieces if possible. I don't know, that might be a little too much, especially that it's circular, so it might be just a little too hard, but I may give it a shot and give it, try to see if I can make it like a stone tunnel. But I think we're probably going to keep it the way it is. I don't see an easy way of doing it without doing a lot of pieces. And this park is already at the point where it's at is starting to bog down a little bit, so I don't know if we're going to do that, but I may give it a shot nonetheless. Now here by our little pond area, I wanted to give it a fountain. So I use this fountain a lot. I found this fountain on the workshop. It is not mine, and I use it a lot in like all of my parks basically. The one issue I had here, and this is like one of the first places I used it, was for this ride. And I loved how the water stuff kind of comes out, but it doesn't have a very good base to it. So I was trying to find something that would make a good base kind of coming out of the water that would look like a fountain. Again, I kind of went back to this little like stone tower piece, and I think it kind of works. I didn't use it anymore after this, so this is the only place I ever use this at when I use these like fountain pieces. I'd like to try to figure out something else, but usually anymore when I use those, I just basically just put the fountain into the water a little bit and just have it coming out of the water. There's not much else that I can really work with on that. Now we wanted to give it a little bit of a low clearance sign there, because that is a very, very tight spot driving the cars underneath the bridge. I didn't want to drop it down anymore, make it any deeper, or raise the bridge up anymore, so I thought that was the best idea. And then we're going to extend the roof out a little bit to kind of make that work some. This was, I think, before, or no, I knew about the trick with using the 1 meter piece, but I wasn't using it as much as I do now back then at this point. And like I said, this is an older video, so I do use the 1 meter trick quite a bit anymore, but back when I was doing this series here in these videos, I really wasn't messing around with it. Then we're just going to add a little bit of shrubbery and a little bit of fencing around it and kind of make it real fancy. That's why I kind of went with this particular fence, is I really liked how this fence looked, especially in this part. I don't know what color we'll do it again when we redo the colors on it, but for the way I was doing this at the current moment, that kind of worked for me. Now at this point, I had to figure out how I was going to do the roof itself. I started out doing something very similar to my queue building that I do for my aero coasters. And then I was just like, you know what? No, I want to do something different. I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over, because I use that thing so often. And it's really a nice queue line and like a station building. But I don't know. I didn't want to use it again. So I had to figure out something different we could do. And I messed around with a lot of different pieces. And then I want to make a shout out here to Blue Spirits. Back to his first rendition of Allure Hills. He had done a recreation of the Adventurers Club or Explorers Club or whatever. And he had used the art pieces to make these really cool, I don't even know what you'd call it, like overhang system? Or I don't really know. Like it was just a really, really cool thing. And you're going to see me use them here as well. At this point, like I said, it started out kind of looking like the same one. So I added in some icing pieces here, painted them black to make some designs. I was trying to go for maybe like some cross hatching there, but that wasn't working. And this is what I was talking about with using the art pieces here. There's a word for this, and I swear to God, it's right on the tip of my tongue, and I cannot think of what it's called. But it's, you know, basically using these here, and we'll adjust them a little bit and kind of fix them there. And there we go. Now you can kind of see it kind of coming together. Now I'm using I'm painting them black and putting them underneath of it to give it a little bit of trim. And then the next piece is all we have to do is just start covering it up. And two more little icing pieces there, which kind of look like a squid. I don't know why. I still liked it, even though it does look like a squid, but it's not a squid. It's just a cool design that I thought. So, I don't know. I kept it. I liked it. And then we just had to repeat the process on the other side. So rather than, you know, like move it and remake every single thing again on the other side, I would just kind of make a copy of everything and move it to the other side. Now, why I just didn't turn this, I'm not 100% sure. I think it had something to do with maybe I didn't think both sides of the building were exact or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't think about like just rotating it or something. I don't know. But I ended up just kind of having to make more work for myself in the end. Now we're just going to add a few more trim pieces here on top and around the edges of the roof. And there isn't a whole lot more to go as far as this ride goes. So I'm going to just go ahead and start doing my outro at this time. Let's see. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm just trying to paint the place, you know. And like I said, everything ended up looking just too white, which at the time I really, really liked. But the more I worked on my park, I just decided that this whole thing needs to be recolored. And that's where we're at the moment in the park. Is I just never have gone back, and I've done a few test things, but I really need to get back in there and just kind of really fix all of this. So it's only details at this moment. That's just placing trees, placing fencing, making the queue line look good, and that's pretty much all we have to it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little behind the scenes look here at our antique cars. Those of you, if you guys also have a nostalgia place in your heart for the antique cars, definitely, you know, make a comment in the comment section below. Let me know your fondest memories of the antique cars. That's what I would love to hear. What does your home park have antique cars still? Did it have antique cars? What is your favorite antique cars that you've ever ridden? That kind of stuff. Just let me hear your stories about these, because as I said, this ride will always have a special place in my heart. And I really want to thank Frontier for making the cars themselves look so great. Thank you so much for that. That's going to do it for me in this video. I cannot wait to get you guys these POVs here coming up this rest of the week. Probably by the weekend, I think you will see it. And until then, my name is Shadow Phoenix. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. You can also check me out on Twitter and everything else, but I will get to that in a moment. You guys have a great rest of the day. Hey everyone, if you'd like to help support me and my channel, I have a Patreon page where you can do just that. You can pledge anything from $1 or more. Anyone who pledges $15 or more gets a unique, specially designed roller coaster and Planet Coaster made just for them. My little way of saying thanks. You can also just send donations as well if you don't want to join Patreon. You can find those links in the video description below. Every tiny red cent I make from these means the world to me and is extremely helpful. If you're interested in my PC setup that I work with and play on that you see here, every piece of the system is described below with links to Amazon if you want to purchase them or anything else. Thanks for tuning in to my videos and my channel. If you aren't already a subscriber, click that on the screen below. And you can also check out a few of my other videos on the screen here as well. You can keep up to date on what's going on in my own little world via Twitter or watch me stream live on Twitch as well. Links are in the video description below. So wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night.